Hey there, everybody. So, today I just want to spend a few minutes talking about Chains of Freedom. In the background, you're going to be seeing video gameplay of me playing the early parts of Chains of Freedom. You'll just be playing in the background. You'll see some of the turn-based combat, some of the crafting mechanics, and some of the narrative. I'm going to be skipping through a little bit of the narrative pretty rapidly, just so I don't spoil too much, and I want you guys to try and figure out if this is a game that might appeal to you. Part of the reason that I want to be talking about this game is just simply because I believe that it is unfortunately underrated. There are a lot of pretty good turn-based tactics games here in this day and age, and while some of the more popular ones like XCOM and Civilization have gotten the recognition they deserve, I think that it'd be nice if things like Chains of Freedom or Wargroove got a little bit more attention, because they are pretty enjoyable, small, little turn-based tactics video games. So, looking at Chains of Freedom here, we can notice one, it's a turn-based game. Obviously, that's part of the reason I'm covering it. I enjoy turn-based games a lot. On top of that, we're going to notice that it has a little bit of a dark and gritty atmosphere. The coloration, the saturation, all the atmosphere and vibes of it just give this more gritty, dark, enticing world that you're going to be exploring. That also goes along with the narrative, where it is very military, paramilitary, sim-esque, in which a couple dude bros or more
Good job.
chopped individuals, chopped has negative connotations,
Yes.
by chopped I meant like bulky, muscular, hardcore individuals with dynamic character sides are involved in a high-stakes situation where they have to neutralize enemy targets and try and ensure their own safety in a world that is out to get them. On top of that, in this world that they are inhabiting, there is a biological mutation system with growing crystal-like apparati which are threatening to be a havoc for any who might come into contact with them. I think that is part of the appeal of this video game, just because most tactics games that we do encounter, like Wargroove or the more recent Civilizations, tend to have a much more positive, happy-go-lucky vibe, and even XCOM, in spite of being a little bit serious, has become quite happy, more positively vibed with the coloration and visual design and language of the video game. Now, on top of that, I think that Chains of Freedom also introduces a couple of enjoyable features. It does have a crafting mechanic. While it does not have the same dynamic character interaction that XCOM does, where you can form your own characters, this is a very narrative-heavy game, so it is reliant on you maintaining the health and longevity of the characters across the entire narrative rather than losing them and replacing them, which honestly that is a downside for some people. It's an understandable downside because it is kind of fun to create your own narrative with your characters. But for what it is focusing on, this appeal to pre-designed and well-defined characters is a massive boon for its part, because this way you get to know these characters a little bit more, you're more engaged with the narrative. I think that's a general overall positive. Going back to that crafting mechanic that I just mentioned a little bit, you can scour the environment. Like, it's not entirely a turn-based game. You can maneuver, when you're out of combat, you can maneuver between environmental set pieces in a manner more akin to like top-down roguelikes or action RPGs, where you're just navigating the environment and you can find loot on the ground, and it doesn't have that quick, snappy, overly rapid, dopamine-inducing gameplay that games like Diablo, Path of Exile, or Megabonk might have, but it's got a more slow, methodical, and involved approach to exploration and combat design, simply because one, it is a turn-based tactics game, but it still allows you to do the exploration between set-piece environmental encounters, where you're able to find loot scattered about the entire map, use that loot then to craft whatever pieces of armor med kits, ammunition, or weapon accessories that you might need in order to continue advancing. And in this way you can develop your characters in whatever way you want. Your gameplay might be different than mine, not in so much as which characters you're going to have, because we're going to have the same characters, but in what loadouts that they're carrying. Obviously, there's probably a meta that there's going to be for which characters should be assigned what weapon, but because of their unique defining skills, giving one character one weapon might suit you over another. For example, later in the game, you're going to find shotguns and crossbows, and those shotguns and crossbows are going to be really good at doing damage either at close range or high distance piercing damage, and giving them to a character based on either their mobility or one of the characters that you're seeing, I believe Fidel, he has the ability to do a punch, so he's really good at getting in close, punching a character, which normally will crit stun unless you run into one of the more difficult characters later in the video game where they can't be stunned so easily. But his punch means that he can be in close, knock somebody out, and then use, if you want him at close range, he can shoot somebody with a shotgun, or he can turn with a crossbow and shoot that across the map and do a lot of damage across the map. So not only can you have him being like dynamically up close, but you can also have him dynamic at distance. Whereas another character who can maneuver faster, because I believe the one that he's working with, Sola, has the ability to do a grapple hook, which gives him the maneuverability to get across anywhere. Like, if there's a large chasm in the map, he can cross that chasm without having to go around it, where another character would have to. And if you give that to him, he's got that dynamic where he can either reposition himself, and so like giving him a sniper or something like that might be useful, but also giving him a shotgun so that he's going to reposition himself closer to an enemy or behind their lines. He can now hit them with a heavy powered attack weapon like a shotgun. And I think this is just really good game design. I think this is something that's been slept on by the turn-based tactics community just because of how little reviews I've seen that it has on Steam. And while reviews aren't 100% accurate, it's definitely demonstrative of, one, how little attention the turn-based tactics genre gets as a whole, and two, that this turn-based tactics game individually didn't get what I think is the attention that I should have got. There have been plenty of turn-based tactics games recently, but I think that Chains of Freedom here should have got a little bit more attention. So that's kind of why I'm just bringing it up into the popular conscience. Continuing on, there is a pretty interesting mechanic with crystals here. Personally, I'm not a fan of like this game design where like you implant crystal buffs and they provide like specific minor attribute differences that can incentivize you to be involved in the game expression in a way that you otherwise wouldn't, and incentivizes gameplay that would normally be counterintuitive, like say getting in a character in real close to take damage because of how fast they'll be healing, which I think is just kind of, it's gimmicky, so it's kind of what I'm getting at, but I don't think that detracts from the game too much, because there is a pretty good ability to ignore it if you don't want to, and if you do find crystals that you think enhance or inspire you to play more risky or in a more dynamic way, I think that's completely a benefit. So again, even if it's not like my favorite game mechanic, I definitely think it's something that should be talked about and should be implemented in more tactics video games, and two, I think it's just something that Chains of Freedom does really well. Having said that, I also want to address that one of the things that tactics games tend to suffer from is exploration, and more so the lack thereof. And I think that because Chains of Freedom here isn't just purely turn-based tactics game, but it also has that element of being able to navigate the environment in such a way that you can scavenge items, or you can just proceed on with the narrative as you see fit. The ability just to spend a couple minutes and examine an area and determine whether you want to explore the area more, try and find resources, or get into extra fights that you don't really want to have to. I know in one of the early stages of the game, there's a cave that's slightly out of the way. It's got a little bit of coloration. You can kind of notice it pretty easily, but you wouldn't think that there's like something real threatening back there. But when you walk into the cave, there's like a huge boss fight, like small little boss fight that's pretty engaging. Just because one, you're like expecting it, and two, you got this boss fight that you have to deal with, and you can't just like, I mean, you could reload, but like you can't just walk out of there because the game mechanics won't let you. So now you have to deal with this boss fight, and that's exhibit of exploration that's not normally found in tactics games, because normally tactics games take you from set piece to set piece without giving you much choice in whether you're going to be handling that or whether you're going to ignore something, because they're so focused on like giving you whatever predefined narrative that they had set out for you. So that's just kind of why I think Chains of Freedom is a pretty good tactics game. I think a lot more people should be looking into it, just because I don't think that it's been as popular as it could have been. Having said all that, I do hope you guys check out Chains of Freedom. I have no benefit from saying this. I just think it's a really cool tactics game, and I want more tactics games out on the market, just because tactics games are my kind of favorite genre. So, if you stuck around this long, thanks for listening. I did try and keep this short. I don't have too much to say, but if you've got anything to say, feel free to leave a comment. I would very much appreciate it. If you have enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you haven't, leave a dislike. That's completely cool too. I just want your engagement. I'll be real. Other than that, enjoy your day and have a good one.